Welcome to another exciting week of Arabesque. We've got a great lineup for you this week. We will be popping by the heart of London to see the works of the brilliant Pascal Hachems. We'll also speak to Haifa Al Mansour, the pioneering director from Saudi Arabia. But first, one of the most diverse art fairs in the UK and already crowned a success, Art 13 took place in the Grand Hall of Kensington Olympia, and we were there to check it out. 24,735 people in total have wandered around the bright, huge Grand Hall in Kensington, visiting what has now become the most dynamic art fair to launch in London in over a decade. Art 13 welcomed artists, galleries, and collectors from across the world and attracted 129 galleries from 30 countries. The fair drew a crowd of prominent individuals, from celebrity names to international art world figures, and was also attended by some of the world's most influential museum directors and curators. It is safe to say this event was a huge deal. The director of this hugely popular event, Stephanie Diekbos, was deservingly happy with the results as she spoke to us about the initial idea, the highlights, and the turnout.
The idea really has developed from various angles. Obviously, me and the founders of the fair here were very much involved in Art HK and the Hong Kong International Art Fair, but we're all based in London and our heart lives here, and we felt that there were a lot of changes happening over the past decade in the London art world, and that it was becoming so global that we felt that we wanted to create a fair that would reflect the changes within the global art world in London. Each of our 129 exhibitors is a highlight in itself, I have to say, but of course I think we got quite ambitious with our ideas about the projects and the performance booth and the talks program. So I think sort of the highlight is that we got far beyond what I ever expected us to get to, and I think, the Elana Tsui, for example, or Zhu Jinji's boat, I think are, fantastic pieces that you not necessarily would have in an art fair, and so I'm really proud we could achieve that. It's been received extremely well. I mean, we had a fantastic opening night with around 6,000 visitors, and we had really fantastic collectors, institutions, fantastic people attending, and everyone was really positive and was saying that they felt the fair really felt very fresh and very different, and that they really enjoyed seeing so much diverse art.
Among the 129 galleries and countless artwork, we caught up with some of the ones that came from the Middle East. One of the largest and most outstanding ones came from German-Lebanese gallery Tanit and featured Lebanese artist Zina El Khalil's 4-meter large mirror sculpture displaying the word Allah in Arabic letters. Peace be upon you, as the sculpture is called, revolves constantly, like a disco ball, hinting at a time for dance. Something Zina has expressed helps us to forget why we turned against each other, thus being a symbol for a never-ending hope of peace in these conflicted areas. We had the opportunity to chat to Naila Koenig of Gallery Tanit about their work and the Lebanese artists in their gallery.
We were invited to participate at this venue, and we liked the idea because it's a very beautiful space. We did a lot of fairs during our gallery lifetime, but we never did any English art fair, so it was our first. And we decided to come with a double program, a European and a Lebanese program. The most prominent one in painting is Nabil Nahas, who's based between New York and Beirut and has shown all over the place. We have quite a few younger ones who are photographers like Nadim Asfar. We might look at his work, and Roy Samaha, who's in the early 30s. Zain Al Khalil, who's also in her 30s. We have another artist who lives in France who's Lebanese called Lamia Ziadeh. Lamia works with fabric. She sews. We have a piece here it's like a picnic. It's called Zifet, and it's on black plastic, and you have all those foods and things Lebanese love to eat. I think if you go to the V&A, there's a photographic show on Middle Eastern artists. You have galleries who represent some Lebanese artists like Anthony Reynolds, who represents Walid Raad, for instance. There are not so many Arabic artists represented in, let's say, English galleries. But you have to start somewhere.
Today, we also had the pleasure of running into our friends from Art Space London, the newly opened gallery at the fashionable Chelsea area. Ruba Asfani spoke to us about how she was enjoying the fair.
Ruba, tell us what you're doing here.
Hi again. So Art 13 is obviously the newest art fair in London, and we had to be a part of it because, we're a new space in London. We wanted to bring Middle Eastern art to London, and this is the perfect opportunity for us because there's so many international galleries here, from South Korea to other places in Europe as well as America as well. And so this is our booth. You have found us, and standing in front of the wonderful work of Zakaria Ramhani, the Moroccan artist who Artspace actually do represent. We show him in Dubai, sometimes with a few controversies, but we're also going to have a solo exhibition for him in the London branch in October.
And how have you found Art 13 so far?
It's been really, really good. Everyone's had really, really positive feedback from it, and sales not too bad, which is always a good start for us. But really, we've chosen a selection of artists and curated the booth so that people will really see what is happening in the Middle East and what artists are really creating, because there are very political pieces, sometimes very sexual pieces, works that I don't think a lot of people outside of the Middle East realize Middle Eastern artists do. So it's almost like an education as well as an exposure for the gallery.
Can you tell us a little bit about this one behind us?
Yeah, of course. So basically, this is the title is As You Can't See. The image itself, which you can see when you're further away, is of himself. It is a self-portrait of the artist, and it's, as you can see, it's made up of layers and layers of calligraphy. The calligraphy that he does always represents the theme or the subject of the actual artwork. So this particular one is about Tahrir Square and the revolution that happened in Tahrir Square. So one of the scenes in the top right-hand corner is of a very, very famous image that was published widely in the Western as well as Middle Eastern media, the words will relate back to the subject, and this is very typical of his work. No two paintings are ever the same because they all have their own theme, and they all the colors obviously are constantly changing, and it just takes him months to create these artworks.
Are you hoping to be back next year?
In Art 13? Well, it was called Art 14, I suppose, yeah. We have to see, really. No one really knows what the future holds for Art Space, but yeah, it's been a really, really good time. We've had a really good time so far. Our mailing list has practically doubled, and, there's no real reason for me to say that we wouldn't come back, so inshallah.
On one of the corners of the beautiful Grand Hall, we found ourselves listening to the call for prayer in a somewhat different and universal language, the Morse code. It is the work of Moroccan artist Younes Baba Ali, and we had the opportunity to speak to the director of the Italian Fama Gallery, Matteo Pollini, about Younes' work.
Well, it's an amazing experience, and for the fair it's actually the first time in London, so it's been great in terms of contacts and meeting new people, meeting new collectors. This is the work of Younes Baba Ali, Call for Prayer Morse. It's actually a sound installation, so we've installed a loudspeaker here. It's exactly the same kind of loudspeaker that's usually installed on top of minarets in Muslim countries, and it goes off 5 times a day according to the time of the call for prayer. And the difference in this work is that the call for prayers is translated into Morse code, so it's actually not really understandable by anyone, and the idea has really it has really a lot to do with previous Younes Baba Ali's work, in which he really deals with this idea of codification and decodification in works, and in translating images and sounds from a form to the other. even if you're not aware of where the sound is actually coming from, you can actually see people stopping and thinking about what is going on, where is this sound coming from, and then it's interesting to see their reaction afterwards when they realize what is the project really about. It's funny because such a simple work is actually able to address important political questions, and that's what we were actually hoping for in this situation.
Crowned a success and one of the most diverse art fairs in the UK, Stephanie Dieckbos tells us about the place of Middle Eastern arts in the fair and the world, and the hopes for the future of this grand event.
We are really, I really love sort of North Africa and the Middle East, and I've been traveling there more recently quite a lot, and I'm going back to Dubai in 3 weeks. So I have a really good relationship to the Middle Eastern galleries. So that's always been really important for me to incorporate those into the fair. And I'm really pleased that we have some of the most interesting galleries from the Middle East participating here. And then in terms of North Africa, of course, with the fact that Selma Feriani is doing the fair is just really fantastic. So I think it's at the moment a small part of the fair, but I'm really confident we can grow this. I think what's really important is that we stop having the world separated. So you have the Middle Eastern art world and then maybe the Western or here the London art scene. And I think it's really important to ensure that the Middle East doesn't stay within a niche, but that these two worlds merge and that we build more bridges between them and the dialogue increases. I think that will be really important. And I'm really pleased to see that some of the Middle Eastern galleries obviously are opening branches here in London. And I hope that we just see more Middle Eastern and also North African art within the mainstream here. Art 13 will become Art 14 next year. And I really hope that we can sort of further increase the global focus of the fair, that we achieve that we have throughout the fair young as well as established galleries from all territories. That would be my greatest ambition, and I think we're on a good track after this year.
Thank you for coming along to one of London's most exciting new art fairs. It has been a fantastic day and a celebration of the rich diversity cooking in the city, and of course, the amazing Middle Eastern artists that have come here today. It is truly a global art fair for a global city. Haifa Al Mansour is the pioneering Saudi director that can claim a first of many. She's the first female director from Saudi and the first director ever to film an entire feature in the country. Her debut film, Wajida, has won critical acclaim worldwide. And as if it's not enough to be a debut feature film director, why did she choose these particularly challenging circumstances? And how did she film a film in the midst of sandstorms, political struggles, and logistical problems, as many times she wasn't even allowed on the streets? We sat down with her and asked her these and many other questions. This is her story.
شرطة أغاني حب وغرام ساوي ناقل الاتحاد الأهلي والهلال ما شاء الله فاتحة مكتب تشجيع كورة.
I grew up in a small town in Saudi Arabia, and I went all my life to public schools, and I was one of 12 kids. I'm number 8. And yeah, and you know how it is, like with a big family in a small town, there is not much to do. So we watched a lot of films. My father would bring a lot of, just to keep us quiet. So we watched a lot of films. Nothing really intellectual, but like we watched Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee and Snow White, a lot of American films, mainstream mostly. But it is, those films took me on journeys and really showed me the world. So I had, since I was really little, I developed a close relationship with film. Like I fell in love with the medium, and it was my first introduction. I never thought I would be a filmmaker. It was really big, like it's beyond even dreaming, but it is just like, it was a sacred place where you find joy and you get to see the world. It's very important to make an original film. Original not only in terms of a story, but also like authentic. This is the word I was looking for. authentic, to make an authentic film that is like true to where it's coming from. So that is why we chose to film in Saudi. And surprisingly, we didn't have from the officials, we had permission to shoot and everything, but the streets in Saudi, like people, like in general, are very conservative, and they are very much not against film, but they don't know what to do with them, and they feel nervous. So the first reaction to them is to reject it. But we had really, and I had to film. It's a segregated country, so I had to film from a van and direct my cast from a distance. And for me, as a director, I want to be there for them, and it's just like you feel like you have to be there to guide the performance and all. But it is very rewarding. It put a pressure on me to perform and pressure on the actors themselves. We would rehearse before we get separated, and we would understand each other. And I would put an extra effort to have them understand the heart of the scene. So even if we are separated, they understand exactly what I want them to do and this is the structure of the whole thing and what is the heart of it. So it worked out at the end. So it made me work harder, and it made me really appreciate every minute, because it was really difficult. We had like sandstorms, and we had like some places we would rent. For example, we rent a mall, and all of a sudden the guys like decided, no, I don't want film, and we had to look for something else. And always when you lose time, it is like it's very stressful, and that made me like work harder, and everybody worked harder on the set, and yeah, it worked. It's very important just like to be focused also. So
انت اللي دبرتي طلعت عبير مع هالشاب امس؟
لا والله يا عبد الله ما سويت شيء.
لا تكذبين. أنا متأكدة إن لك يد في هالموضوع، بس إيش بالضبط ما أدري. يعني شو نسوي فيك الحين؟ نطردكي؟
A lot of the character, like what did I based her on my niece and my school, my family. I try to borrow people and get them and put them in there and the script. And I think it's very important to give life, like to make a character individual, because it helps when you are writing, when they are in charge of themselves as characters. They take the lead and they lead you while you are writing. But it is hard, like writing for me, because it's also writing in film. It is very structured. You have to have certain points and certain and for me, a first-time filmmaker, a first-time scriptwriter, it's not easy to learn the craft. So you have to write and rewrite and write and to rewrite. And I always tell like young filmmakers that it is very important to invest in rewriting. And I went to some dance writers lab, and that was the best, because I changed the whole third act of my script. And I think it's very important to let go of the script sometimes and listen to people like script editors and stuff when they are telling you things don't work and if the tone is not right. It's very important to just like to have an open heart and listen and rewrite. Rewriting it makes it sound good, I think.
ماما قولي الكلام من قلبك وما عليك من اللي حواليك. ودي أكون بكرة معك وأشوفك أنت تفوزي.
My father was a poet, and poetry is very it's a little different, but I think I got the spirit. Like he always writes about things that he really feels, and was very important for me to make things that are honest. And that is thing that I knew, that it is like I should make things that matter to me the most than anybody else, that I can feel and really touch and make something real. And that is the influence in writing. But writing is tough. Directing, because when we are directing on set, you have like the DOP and the set design and a lot of people around you just like working, do this, and they will do it. I don't like this, and they will do it. But writing is very lonely. Like you sit in a place and you have to give life to those characters, and you have to live them and get close to them. And sometimes you don't know where you just want to give them chance to grow and and they're stubborn. They just stare at you. So it's hard sometimes in writing, but it is also like, it's nice to see for me was like very, very nice to see the characters I wrote, and then I saw them after production. It's like, it is amazing, like when you see this, that it comes to life, something that you just
Researching the ever-captivating topic of power, Lebanese artist Pascal Hachems shows us his conclusions and questions through the use of a lipstick. This is his exhibition at the Selma Feriani Gallery, Beliefs in Self-Deception.
The Selma Feriani Gallery was founded in 2009 and is a small gallery in the heart of central London. The body of work is predominantly conceptual, aiming towards descriptive and expressive content.
I opened this gallery in 2009 to promote artists from the region, Middle East and North Africa mainly. Also inviting artists a bit from, around the world through curators and specific projects. The idea was to show artists that don't live in London, they live in their own country, and to bring projects here to London for the London public.
Born in Lebanon in 1979, Pascal Hachems has a degree in spatial design. He has exhibited his work in London, Rome, and Tunisia, and received awards both for his artwork and design.
Hachems is the youngest generation from Lebanon. So same generation as Ziad Antar, who also we represent. He's based in Beirut, and every single work is inspired by his country, city, and of course the region, because Lebanon is surrounded by interesting countries, and there is always something happening in that region. So all his work is inspired by social and political issues that either he experienced himself or he's witnessing. So every piece is really telling a specific story. This exhibition is his second exhibition here, Beliefs in Self-Deception, where he's presenting few objects. Some are moving objects, mechanized, and others are still objects.
He seeks to reveal the truth and asks his audience new questions on the ever-captivating topic of power. Like most things, power is an ever-shifting force, shaky and often reliant on public opinion, influence, and greed. He asks, how is power acquired, and what does it take to maintain it? Power also needs perpetual seduction, support, and to be kept alive, and Pascal dives into these issues using beauty as its opposite. He has chosen with this exhibition to explore the topic using a well-known symbol of seduction, the lipstick. It's a transformation of an everyday object into a ruthless weapon, and the lipstick, as power itself, serves anyone that makes use of it, giving them illusions and twists of reality.
He He's talking about this specific missile called Fajr Khamsa, Dawn 5, that Iran produced in the 90s and then been used by Lebanon, by Hezbollah to attack Israel, and recently by Hamas to attack Israel as well. So this is like a huge missile that has a yellow body and a red head. So he wanted to find something interesting and not obvious, not just presenting the missile as the shape of the missile. And the closest thing that came to his mind was a lipstick. So the gold body and the red head represents Fajr Khamsa. There is so many stories about this missile because Fajr Khamsa been moving actually from Iran to Lebanon to Palestine. It's a huge missile, and as an artist, he cannot understand how this huge missile been moving around, but Israel didn't know about it. So there is, so he couldn't really understand how this is happening. And then, of course, a lot of ideas came to him. So he tried here to present the missile with the lipstick in a position when it is ready to go. So, and it says Al-Jamal Muqawam. Of course, the lipstick represents beauty, and Al-Muqawam is the resistance. So, is the fact that, okay, the missile is ready and it's gonna attack. The second one is the missile that is Hadr, Al-Jamal Al-Hadr, so he's getting, he's ready, but not to attack yet. And then here is Al-Jamal Al-Muhtal, where you totally, the whole destination is erased. So he's presenting, the three scenarios using the lipstick as a missile.
A seminal piece of the exhibition is My Martyr, No Martyr, which at first glance is only a large frame cylinder contained within a glass box. But with a little bit of patience, it becomes clear that it is slowly revealing its secrets as the cylinder slowly rotates and shows its true nature. As the lipstick on the cylinder arises and vanishes, we see deadly bullets disguised as weapons of beauty rather than destruction. A power technique often imposed on us as means to manipulate us into consent. Pascal further probes the issues related to volatile political situations and continues to enchant and move his audience with the exploration of the ever-shifting role of power.
It has been a pleasure to meet so many creative and inspiring people this week. I hope you enjoyed our show. We'll see you next time when we uncover more of the arts and culture life from Middle East and North African communities here in London. Until then, take good care.
Next time on Arabesque. A special episode of Arabesque as we cover the Shubak Festival, a window to the Arab world. The festival opens the opportunity for people to see closer at the arts and culture world of the Middle East. We'll see music, theater, Young Artist of the Year award, and myself trying my hand at the famous tabla instrument. Join us for a festival of insight and fun on Arabesque.